So today we're going to install this twin undersink water filter at my mother's home. This is very high quality filtration with simplicity. You've got a dedicated OmniPure fluoride candle in the first stage. They're manufactured in the US. They've been manufacturing these things for 30 plus years. Very trustworthy, highly reliable. Your second stage, you've got a CTO Max UK manufactured cartridge. It's a combination of ceramic and carbon block amongst other things. The CTO Max cartridge is designed to filter over 130 different contaminants. It's NSF 42 and 53 certified, which for those of you who understand what that means, that's what you need to get rid of your PFAS and all of those types of things. So heavy metals, microplastics, chlorine, chloramine, PFAS, it even does some fluoride, bacteria. If I've missed out anything, have a look at the data sheet on the website. It's very long and very detailed, and it tells you exactly at what levels they're removed at the particular literages. Worthwhile having a look. The installation is simple, the maintenance is simple. You're swapping out the filters approximately every 6 to 12 months in this thing, and you're literally just opening up the cartridge and swapping out the cartridge. So simple. Your red input line connects to the T-piece, which feeds on your cold water line. That then connects to your pressure limiting valve. It's designed, if there's ever any high pressure flushes from your municipal system, it comes in, stops that. These houses are built like tanks anyway, so that has to be there for the watermark certification, which it obviously has. Output going to your filtered water tap and a spanner to really easily change the cartridges on these things. So let's get started with the install. Once we get down into here, the underside of the sink is much too tight to show you guys exactly how all of this is going to go together. This gets inserted into the 12mm hole. From there, we've got a nice hard plastic locating washer that goes on the underside of the sink. If you can imagine that my finger is the sink itself. Then you've got one more rubber washer. Then you've got the locking washer. And then you've got a choice of these two here. This one here, obviously, if you've got enough space, is a nice way to simply finger tighten the nut on there. If you don't have enough space for that one underneath the sink in that area, another nut is actually provided. And this one here is the 14mm nut for your spanner or your shifter, and that will then screw up into place to lock it firmly in place. That's your choices there, either the bigger one or the 14mm nut. Once you've got that in place, then this is very simple to connect the water filter itself. This is a 1/4 inch connection. This is a John Guest Quick Connect. You can see on here that there is a small collet that comes in. So I'm just going to push this on, and you can see as I pull that away, that collet separates, and that allows me to get one of these little blue locking clips in there, and that locks it in place. Once you've got your water filter installed, your blue filtered water hose, push it up in there firmly. You'll notice that it goes in once, and a bit firmer push will go in a bit further again. They generally go in around 5 to 7mm. Give it a little pull, and you can see the collet opens up, and once again, a locking clip. Nearly lost that one down the sink. Locking clip goes on that area, so you can see you've got a locking clip there and a locking clip there. The amount of tension required to get that to separate is ridiculous. That's just not going to happen. These are designed for high pressure systems. So very simple installation as far as that's concerned. Just much easier showing you here above the sink than under the sink. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install the T-piece. This is designed simply as a tap to send water from your cold water line to the water filter. That's all it's designed to do. Now you're going to need some plumbing tape to ensure that the connection is nice and tight, and you're going to need a shifter. Very, very simple, so that you can get in here, tighten this up, loosen this section here. That's as simple as that part is. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we've correctly identified the cold water hose. These systems are designed for cold water only. We're going to make sure that the cold water supply is turned off. However that happens, whether you have to shut it off to the house, or some people will often have one under the sink here. In this circumstance, it's had to be shut off at the house. Open the cold water tap here as well, so that releases a bit of the pressure. There's always going to be a little bit of drip. So it's a good idea to at least have a tea towel, maybe a bucket, just to catch any of this drip that comes out. Once we've got that open, then you can see we're getting a little bit of cold water there. That way, if you're catching it there, you're making a bit less of a mess. We'll just wait until that drains off. Okay, so the water's finished dribbling out there. Now you can see that we've added plumbing tape to the end of the T-piece and plumbing tape to the existing cold water connection. And we're simply, it's a clockwise fitting, screwing on. Gonna get that little fella tight with our shifter. Very simple. What you want to do is you don't want to over tighten. Good to go. Now what you can see is here, we've got our on-off tap that's designed with this little fella here. This is, the red indicates unfiltered water. You're going to push that up into there, nice and firm. You'll feel it move up twice. It'll generally go in somewhere around about 7 millimeters. And if you give it a slight tug, it'll reveal this open collet, and you're going to put the clip on there to ensure that that doesn't release by itself. Okay, so now we're going to mount the system. Really simple in the sense of, get yourself a pencil so you can mark out exactly where you're going to put the screws that hold the system firmly in place. The screws are self-tapping, but in my personal opinion, if you don't want to, if depending on how pedantic you are, if you want to make sure that you're not splitting your MDF, then give it a quick pilot hole with a 2.5 mil. Mark that little fella. We've got an existing hole there we're going to use, and I'm going to drill a 2.5 mil pilot hole. So now that we've got the pilot holes drilled, we're going to sink the self-tappers in. Really simple. Make sure your clutch is on a little bit. You don't want to strip the threads. She's tight working up in here, so I'm just going to get one on at a time before I put them in completely. Obviously, this depends on your undersink situation. They're always a little bit tight. So now the housing's mounted. Super neat, compact installation. Ensure you've got about 50 millimeters here because you want to make sure that you can unscrew these housings. Okay, so all that's left to do now is connect up the unfiltered water line that's coming from your T-piece into the pressure limiting valve. Once again, 1/4 inch John Guest connectors, super simple. These come with about 1.5 meters of hose, which is generally more than enough for any undersink situation. If you feel like you need extra length, let us know. We'll get that cut to size. I'm going to leave this exactly as it is so that if I ever want to move this thing, I can do that. So all you've got to do, once again, push him up nice and firm. You'll feel that, and lock it off with the locking clip. Get them in there. That one there is firmly locked off and ready to go. That one's neatly installed. The final one is your blue filtered water hose. So I'm going to pop this one off here. Pop this clip off. Once again, push it right in. You feel it go right in. There we go. That's a little bit tight and firm. She's in there. Lock this little fella down. And I'm going to come up in behind this so that it's relatively neatly installed. What we're doing now is we're connecting the filtered water hose to the output, or to the input of the tap. Once again, push it right up in there firm. You'll feel it go up in approximately 6, 7, 8 millimeters. Pull it back down just a touch. You can see that collet just opens up a touch, and I'm going to clip this clip on. That prevents it from pulling out. So now we've got a pretty neat installation. And then we've got everything connected. Go out and turn the water supply back on. Watch this for at least 30 seconds. I'd give it a couple of minutes just to make sure that you don't have any slow leaks because of your plumbing tape or anything along those sorts of lines. Just be aware this T-piece has a rubber washer in there, so you want to ensure that that's fitted, to make sure that that seal is firm. But check that for leaks. At the moment, the tap for the T-piece that actually feeds the water filter is off. Once we turn that down, you see it and you hear it start to fill. Now that's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to saturate the cartridges and flush the system fully, and then we can start getting our filtered water. So now our 2-stage undersink water filter is completely installed. It's a quick, simple, easy process, and we've got awesome, high-quality filtered water directly from the dedicated filtered water tap. If you don't want the filtered water tap, a really simple solution is a dedicated 3-way mixer. So you don't need an extra hole in your sink. A dedicated 3-way mixer that replaces your existing mixer tap. It will then have unfiltered hot and cold and a dedicated filtered water line that comes out of the one tap, if that makes sense. So there's a choice for that if you don't want the included dedicated filtered water tap, but once again, that's what you're looking at.